Okay, so I got a call from a young couple. How come the and I'm gonna share the phone conversation in I mean not obviously live phone conversation, but I'll share with you what I talked to him about, what we talked about as a young couple currently renting. They're paying about 1,600 bucks a month a year on a 600 square foot apartment, and he told me I think he makes like $92,000. No, $92,000 a year. Single income, newly married, and this and that. And we had about an hour conversation, and there's a lot to cover, I think. But what I would recommend with the current market condition, what the real estate is going to do, pricing, high interest rate, low inventory, you know all these things. But this is kind of like the advice that I gave to him, basically a friend of mine's friend, uh, and I'm not sure why this Twitter thing isn't working. Maybe the camera is backward. Oh, there you are. So yeah, I'm actually doing the live video on three different platforms. So I have no idea how long this video will be, but it will be like you'll be calling me in person on my cell phone, and we're gonna have this conversation if you're in a similar situation. To repeat, uh, renting 1,600 bucks a month and 92K a year salary. That's that's gross income as far as I know, W-2. Right? So whatever take home pay might be. And he did mention about 2,400 a month would be something manageable. And so we ran some numbers and we looked at some properties. And then he asked me, is this a good time to buy? And I gave him the answer. The answer is yes, by the way. And I'll explain why I gave him that advice. By the way, I'm Sean, the realtor guy. If we haven't met, thanks for being here. So I'm just kind of like redacting all the personal information, name and things like that, obviously. So basic question. The main question is, what is your advice for people like me who's renting, um, paying 16, and I already said it before. So the question is, the key point is this a good time to buy? It's not a good time to buy actually because it's so expensive. I ran the number like my house like this that I bought in 2018 or 17. If I want to buy the same house in the current market, I have to pay like double, actually more than double. Almost double, yeah. Uh, because price went up about 35% since I bought this house, and the interest rate pretty much doubles the monthly payment. So what I told him is that you just can't wait because house price is going to go up. Obviously, I can't guarantee it, but inflation, that's what inflation means. Inflation is going to move up everything more expensive. Even this pen will be more expensive, right? So how can you expect a house to be cheaper? And oh, there's Onyx again. Onyx, my dog, he wants to go out. So hold on one second. Here. He does that like a dozen times a day. So let's see. Where was I? Hmm. So yeah, the inflation, the house price. Me as a licensed agent, I can't guarantee the house price will go up, but more likely it will because things aren't getting cheaper. Somebody said, why can't home builders build cheaper homes? for lower income families. And the idea is great, so that people can own a home. But you're talking about capitalistic society. It's kind of like, hey, can you make this guitar and make it as cheap but the best as possible? I mean, that is the economy. That's how things work. But when it comes to house, the limited thing is the land. So land is the most expensive one. And the builder's goal is to make the most money. I mean, they're running a business, right? They got to feed their family. So how can you make more money? By building more expensive homes so they can sell at higher price, right? So in order for them to build a lower price house, either they have to build up like condos, but then when the building gets taller, it gets more expensive, or you will have to get the government's subsidy so that they can, subsidize their income by. Anyways, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. So understanding that the price will go up, house price will go up. Going back to my answer originally to that couple, yes, it is a good time to buy. It's terrible time to buy. But it's a better time to buy. That's what I told him. Um, it's home buying isn't about making money. I made a video on YouTube video about a year ago about this. I basically broke down the payment, the monthly cost, the maintenance, um, the insurance, property taxes, toilet breaking at midnight, all those things combined. When you own a home, you still pay more. Now, let me put it this way. You save more. You still you're still negative when you own a home, but you are less negative than renting. Does that make sense? If you own like for 30 years with the rental increase every year, um, you pay about 1.6 million. That's what I saw. I think the number was like running at 2,500 bucks a month, comparable home. I might have had like 3,000. I can't remember. But you spend about 1.6 million in 30 years. If you own a home, you spend about a little bit less than $900,000 a year. That's what I saw. So you're basically spending less money. That's the difference. So going back to this couple, they're making 92K a year. They're paying 1,600 bucks a month on a 600 square foot apartment. I'm guessing it's a one bedroom apartment or maybe a studio. He said 2,500 is what he's willing to pay for mortgage and house payment. And when I ran that number in the 7% interest rate with about 10% down payment, 10% would be about, based on the budget, it came to about $320,000 price range property. That's all. That's like the highest that he can afford now at 2,500 a month. And so we did a quick search on the Portland Metro. I did about 50-mile radius from downtown Portland. So you went down to about Salem, past Forest Grove, like past Gresham. So it's a big search, right? There were about 4 properties came up under $320,000, and one was in Canby. It was about $310,000. It was like a townhome with $85 a month HOA fees, and I thought that was a good one because I like Canby. It's a small town. It's attached, but the HOA fee isn't like 400 bucks a month. It's only like 8,500 no, $85 a month that covers the exterior maintenance, which is pretty impressive actually. And I like Canby. It's pretty safe, a small town, which is amazing. And the other thing was a fixture in Dundee, other townhome. It's just trashed. I wouldn't recommend that. And I can't remember the other two, but they're very limited. So what I told him was this: Hey, are you willing to take on a roommate? Because one of his friend who recommended me, uh, Kyle, Kyle basically had roommate when he bought the house, so he could get help on mortgage because he had a set roommate. And when Kyle bought the house, the interest rate was close to, I think, 3.5% maybe. So he's doing way better. But at 7%, I asked him, "Hey, are you willing to take on a roommate?" And he said that's a deal breaker because they just can't because they're husband wife team, right? So that's out. And what else are you willing to do? So that is the question. One is the location. How far are you willing to drive out? The other thing is what kind of condition and size and type of properties. And a lot of times I hear nowadays people can work at home so they can off site. They can drive like an hour. So, in my opinion, what you're willing to do is the question you should ask. How far are you willing to drive? And what kind of condition of homes that you're willing to live in? What kind of size? Townhome, condominiums, or single family homes? Obviously, single family home is going to be much more preferable, but I think townhome or condominium with reasonable homeowners association fee is way better than renting. And right now, end of June of 2024, the interest rate is going down a little bit. It's below 7% right now. But by the way, we ran this number with like 7%. So if you get 6.5%, you can buy a lot more. Now, if the rate goes down by the end of the year, which is an election year, and people who are in power, they want to make things look good, so there's some chance that the Fed funds rate will come down maybe once this year. If so, let's say mortgage rate comes down to 6.5% or close to 6%, the price will go up again really fast. So that's the reason why it's better to buy now than next year. Based on the Portland market, I think price will go up probably 3 to 5% next year. Now you have to remember the price went up from 2020, 21, beginning of 22. Price went up about 30 to 40% depending on the neighborhood. So when you hear this like prices coming down 3%, last 12 months, that's like fraction of how much it went up. So up, 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 up last 3 years, right now doing something like that. That's all you need to know. So when it comes down a little bit and then interest rate goes down again, it goes up again. That's the problem. So that's what I told him. He understood that. One big reason why the housing market might crash could be if we have population declining, but apparently there's a lot of illegal immigrants are coming in, so I don't think that would be an issue. We go to a big war. We are already in wars, sort of like proxy wars. But if we go full on war, housing market could crash. But I don't know if that will happen. But many people are on the sideline thinking that next year will be better, and I am going to bet that you're going to be wrong. Next year, price isn't going to get better, and if the interest rate goes down, the price will jump again. So it's you're losing proposition. M- The bigger elephant that people don't talk about is the inflation. Like I mentioned in the beginning, when the inflation goes up, everything gets expensive. So don't expect house price to come down. I tend to repeat myself a lot, by the way, guys. So, but this is the conversation you're gonna have if you call me about buying a house. I try to set up like at least 30 minutes for individuals so I can customize based on their situation. Um, but yeah, so let's focus back on this couple. One question is how much down payment that they have to put down. So this is where when the interest rate is high, it's better to put down more. If you have a lot of savings, not a problem. In his case, he saved up about 10%, like 45,000. 10% is great. 20% is when you don't have to pay the mortgage interest, which is can be anywhere between 150 to, I don't know, $300 in this price range. But if you don't have that, putting down 3% is okay. You're going to pay monthly more. But in my opinion, owning something sooner than later is the leverage that you can use to get better, be ahead of the game. Because in his case, spending about $1,600 a month, if he rents for the next 10 years, he'll be spending, I think the number was like $108,000. So basically, you're paying about $100,000 in 10 years if you decide to rent. And with the savings compared to, let's say, $900 a month savings, instead of 2,500 a month mortgage versus 1,600 on the rent, you're saving about $900. If you can use that $900 to make more money by investing in, like, better investment, Bitcoin, let's say, you just 100 exit in the next 10 years. That's awesome. If you can do that, if you have that skill, go and do that. Just keep renting small apartment and you could do actually better financially. But most people don't, or you can't really time the market. You can't really, mm, those things aren't guaranteed. That's why, in my opinion, owning sooner is better than later. Um, so she said no roommate. So the first thing that I told him to do is figure out the budget, because you can't start looking at a home without knowing what you can afford. So I gave him two of the lenders who I work with. So he's gonna call them and see what kind of budgeting advice that they can give him. And if you want to know those contacts, feel free to DM me, and I'll send you my favorite local contact in the Portland Metro. And once he figures that out, and this is the important part, that I can't really help the consumers or the home buyers, because everybody has different risk tolerance. In his case, $2,500 a monthly house payment is like the comfortable range. 1,600 is what he's paying. And this is where what kind of lifestyle change you are willing to make to go up in maybe $3,000 a month. So $500 difference. What that could mean when it comes to buying power and for the future, to own something instead of renting. And he's, I mean, it could be, eating ramen like so often. It's terrible idea, by the way. Don't eat ramen. Um, but this is your personal adjustment that you have to find out and figure it out. Because if you think that homeownership is more important than going out to eat steak dinner once a month, you might be able to take that off, steak dinner, and put that toward the house payment. But if you think the steak dinner is important, maybe think about cooking at home. Uh, or not go out to drink the Starbucks coffee and make coffee at home like I do. And once you figure out the budget, now realtor like myself can help you better, because right now the market is moving really fast, and this is what I told him too. About 10 to 12 offers that I made for different buyers. Every time it was a multiple offer situation. I only got one deal done out of that 12. Everything else, my buyers didn't make it. And this is where I'm like confused. Like, to be a good realtor, good buyer's agent, I need to be able to get them a better deal. That's my belief. But in the current market, if I try to get them a good deal, they don't get a deal because of the competition, high competition. So, in my mind, do I need to be less good realtor so that they can get a house? Maybe so. Because, if I have a hard time pushing buyers to pay more than necessary, but in this case, I'm like confused where the necessary price point is in each properties. It seems that there's always another buyer who's willing to pay more. And I'm wondering if some of them are like a hedge fund investment group, because as far as I know, they're putting a lot of those big companies, they're putting a lot of cash into buying single family homes to keep as a rental properties. And I'm pretty sure about 30% of the offers that I made were competing against those buyers. And now I'm coming back to being a better realtor. I mean, if my buyers say, "Hey, I love this house, do whatever to get this done," then I will say, "Well, let's pay this. And as long as you hold on to it for 5 or 7 years, you're going to be fine." And I can give that advice. But if they say, "Well, I don't want to overpay too much," then I find a comparable home, the price analysis, and then I give them, "Okay, let's not pay more than this, because if you pay more than this, you have to hold on to it for 10 years just to weather the storm." Storm meaning like a big downturn. So going back to budgeting. So once you figure out the budget, talk to your realtor and talk about what's really important to you, and willing to buy the fixer house. Fixer house can be fine as long as it doesn't have like foundation issue. If it's a paint and flooring, some smell, just bite the bullet and buy it, because those things can be fixed. Foundation, on the other hand, can be, in Oregon, foundation cost is very, very high if it needs to be fixed. Last so many things I've seen, 80 to $150,000. So avoid those, and avoid homes that are on a sloped that is like bunch of water issues that cannot be mitigated. That's a big issue too. Other than that, everything else is doable. Yes, the roof is expensive, the HOA not HOA, HVAC is expensive, siding is expensive, but those things can be fixed as long as you buy with some credit, or lower the price or whatever. Fixer homes, in my opinion, is better than renting if you're willing to deal with the smell a little bit. To get rid of the smell, by the way, you need to coat with like a primer, like Kills or one of those on the subfloor, a layer, and then put a flooring so that the cat urine smell doesn't go through your house. Or if there's a bunch of smokers live there for 35 years, you need to kills that entire wall. You can't kills windows, so you need to really clean the windows. But yeah, it can be done. But if nobody wants that house, that means, are you willing to fix that up? I think it's better than renting. So he asked me, "Is this a good time to buy it?" And I said, "Yeah, I think it is. You just need to be willing to adjust your expectation and get into an ownership, buy a fixer, buy a condominium, buy a townhome, because it's a war out there. It's like a real estate war almost. People with big money, they're buying up real estate like crazy. And I think more individual home ownership is going to be better for the whole economy and for the common good, not in communist sense, but more of a well-balanced capitalist sense. Um, Anyways, this was basically the conversation that I had. I have no idea how long I've been talking to myself with you guys. Some of you come in and out. So let's see. How long has it been? 25 minutes. Wow. 25 minutes of live video. So I'm glad it wasn't like an hour and a half. Um, so this is kind of like the conversation you need to have you with your realtor to understand where you are with your situation, what you can do, and what you should do. Um, it's not that I'm a realtor telling you to buy because I make money. If you watch this in from like Florida, I don't make dime from you. But I wanted to share this information because it's important. I advocate for home ownership. If you're in New York City, renting might make more sense. If you're in LA, renting will make more sense. Probably Seattle, probably San Francisco, renting makes more sense. In Florida, apparently the home owner's insurance is like almost $10,000 on a single family house. So I don't know if I would buy there. Maybe making sense to rent there too. But most of the country, if the median sale price is below, gosh, $600,000 right now in 2024, June of 2024, and if the rental market is strong enough, I think it's better to buy. One exception is that if the town is small enough that is depending on one industry, such as a small college, or one industry is like dominating the city, I would be careful. If it's a metro where a bunch of different industries all kind of like combined together, one industry goes down, the other industry still support the city. Those cities, I'll be fine if median price is less than 650,000. Then it would be still better to buy in 2024. Just make sure that you stay within your budget at 7% fixed rate, and then check your affordability. And I don't recommend variable mortgages, because what happens if the Fed funds rate goes up? What if the inflation goes haywire? The unemployment goes down? The Federal Reserve cannot reduce the Fed funds rate. Mortgage rate could go to 8.5% or 9%. You always have to look at the worst case scenario, right? If that happens, the variable mortgage will really hurt you financially. 30-year mortgage is fixed. And imagine, let's say, $5,000 monthly payment right now in 2024. If you look at it from 2054, that's what, 30 years from now? By about you're paying off that house, the $5,000 worth will be a lot less than right now because of the inflation. And it doesn't go up like the rental would. Rental can go up for the last few years in Oregon. It could go up about 9%. I think what was it? The CPI plus, I think, is 3 or 4. I can't remember, but it was 9% was last year. The the maximum increase that the landlord could apply to their property. So if it's like 5% every year, that's how much it's going to go up every year. So I'm going to cut at 30-minute mark. Thanks for watching. If you're still here, that's amazing. Wow, there are 2 people on Twitter. Thank you so much for sticking around. Um, I hope you got something out of this. I'm going to end the stream now. Have a great day, and thanks for the support. If you hit that like button, I might buy you a cup of coffee when we meet.